Some things works, some things don't. This is something that I have found works really well with my rogue. So I came up with a new system to help us make it a little bit more challenging other than raising the DC. So normally the rogue or anyone really with thieves tools rolls a dex check and has their proficiency bonus if they have it. It's just a single roll, works, and it's quick and efficient. Most of the time, that's perfectly fine. I'm totally happy with that. But I wanted to add a little bit of work for my rogue, and he wishes it was a little bit more of a challenge for him, so I came up with a system. Let's talk about it. I made a bunch of things that just didn't work. Mostly it was just too crunchy and just didn't make sense. Until I looked at what makes up 90% of D&D's core rulebook, combat. Took that concept and applied it to a lock. I treat the lock as a monster, I give it HP, and I treat those dex rolls essentially as damage rolls. The higher the roll on the dex check, the more damage the lock is taking until it gets to 0 where the lock unlocks. That does add a lot more rolls to the game, so I don't use it all the time, but when I need there to be more rolls, when the stakes are higher, this is a great way that I've added challenges in front of my players. I keep the DC in there though. Medium is DC 10, hard is DC 15, very hard is DC 20, right? I keep those in, even DC 5. It's important to keep 5 in this. And what I do is I let those DCs be thresholds for wandering monster encounters. Here's a great example. The rogue goes up to the door and starts picking the lock. Rolls his dex check, passes the DC, lowers that HP. Great. Ticking clock though, just one more roll. It rolls again, gets below the DC. The dex still applies as damage, so there's really no AC. It's just constantly narrowing it down. But because he didn't roll higher than the DC, I have someone else on the table or him roll on my wandering monster table for that terrain. They roll, and then I describe how something spooky or a monster is showing up and they have to roll initiative. What is the rogue supposed to do for the rest of the encounter? Well, he's going to be unlocking that door. It's very interesting. So I remove one of the biggest heavy hitters of combat essentially out of combat, and I'm making sure everyone else is fighting the monster or the horde of goblins or horde of zombies that are coming through the tunnel to this door, while the rogue's #1 job is to get that door open while they're defending off the horde or the monster. And once that door is unlocked, everyone's just taking their turns to try to get to that door as fast as possible. Again, it's not needed for every single door or chest. Plenty of doors and chests that we've come up to that it's just one dex roll, does a high enough, and I'm like, great job, you open the door, no problem. Because I know that in the rhythm and the pacing of the game, we don't need another combat right now, or the stakes don't need to be that high right now. But you're a rogue, you got thief tools. Let's see if you get a nat 1. And what I do on nat 1s is the lockpick breaks. Simple as that. He's got 2. He used to have 2, now he's only got 1. The lockpick breaks, thieves tools are thrown away, and you guys got to figure another way through the door. On a critical success, whether I have the HP or it's just a normal single roll, critical success, unlock the door. You guys did it. Great job. Move through. And I might just add the sounds of a monster in the distance just to like, ooh. But something I definitely do is magical locks need their key. There's no like, oh, I need a magical lockpick to unlock a magical lock. Magical locks are tethered to a key, like they're attuned to them. How I described this to my rogue was he went to go unlock what he assumed to be a magical door, and when he picked it, he heard the tumblers all land back in place, and I described, you don't think this is going to work because it's magical. How high is the HP for these locks? Not that high, really. I'm mostly thinking about how many rolls is it taking to get through the door. Usually 2 to 4 suffices. I usually think each tier of difficulty as a tumbler. So like a DC 5 is a 1 tumbler lock, DC 10 is a 2 tumbler lock, so on, so forth, right? And each one of those tumblers, I usually kind of default at like, oh, 10 HP. So like a DC 15, I'm probably setting around 30 HP on my lock. If that's too much, you know, I can just like a normal HP for any monster in any encounter, I could tweak that to make a satisfying just we kind of just want to get going, or no, I'm going to slow this down a little bit. It's a little bit more, and that kind of stuff. So it's very fluid, but that's generally how I tinker with lockpicking. It's pretty quick, pretty easy. It's simple rules that my rogue can understand. It's HP and damage. Simple. And the DC, if you roll too low, a monster might show up. Simple stakes. To be honest, you don't need this. It was just a fun, easy solution that I presented to my player who was asking for more out of his lockpicking. Have fun, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey, that's about it. Go ahead and check out my Patreon link down below if you want to support the channel. Otherwise, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. I do think you should only get sneak attack if you use the hide action prior to attacking. Is that a bad idea?